Hello. Hi, everybody. Thanks for finding us today. Certainly appreciate that. Definitely appreciate you finding us today, Thursday, May 9th, 2024. My name is Brian Engelman, and this is the Agree to Disagree show here on the Nuevo Americano Media. Anyway, yeah, thanks for finding us. Please subscribe in all of the places, the Agree to Disagree show and the New American Media, please. We're going to unpack the stuff in the news today. We did have a guest scheduled, and something came up, and there was a tech glitch. Awesome. Had the thumbnail made and everything. Did everything but click go live. So we will work to bring that guest back tentatively, very tentatively, rescheduled for Tuesday at 3 p.m. Also, reaching out to some other favorites. We're going to get back into the swing of things, bringing a wide variety of guests onto the program. So, for today, we're going to buzz through the news. We're going to go ahead and bring up our X feed. So, if you're not here, let me go ahead and restart this on the profile. If you're not following the New American Media on X, you are missing out. So I would request that you find and follow us on X, one of the few relatively free platforms with a reach. Yes, we're on Telegram. Yes, we're on Signal. Yes, we're on Rumble, Odyssey. We're in Truth Social, but we are also on YouTube, X, Spotify for the podcast, the Agree to Disagree show. Want you to follow us on X at American_media_. And what we're going to do today is kind of walk through the X account, and we're going to tell you what people are talking about, and we're going to discuss. Please leave your comments in the comment section, and I'll try to get to some of those if we can. Please subscribe, hit like, hit the heart button. I don't know, whatever platform you're on. If you got a chance to hit something, hit it old school, please. So let's kind of go through what we have here. Nice summarization here. And he says, literally every case against Trump is running into a brick wall. Fannie Willis, corrupt. Letitia James, corrupt. Judge Merchan, compromised. Jack Smith, liar. Why? Because these are fraudulent cases and they're being run by criminals. And we're exposing them one by one. Do any of you disagree with any of that? The fact that any of this is happening is just astonishing. You look at Stormy Daniels, her words, her statement. There never was an affair. Nothing happened. I've been saying it year after year after year. No payments made. I'm saying it because it's not true. Why is this even in a? What crime are they alleging? There's no crime here. At the very, if you're going to be on the side of the Stormy Daniels case is important, the only thing you can try to argue is that if there was a payment, it should have been filed in category B instead of category C. That's what we're talking about? That is okay. Yeah, that's why you go after a president. So we're following the case. I don't know where it's going. It doesn't feel like anywhere. And then they've kind of paused the Mar-a-Lago thing down in Florida. It's hard to keep track of these because they all feel the same. It all feels like Jack Smith and Joe Biden and the people pulling the strings who remain from the Biden, Barack Hussein Obama administration. Just seems like they were waiting to see if Trump was going to be stupid enough to run for president again after they fortified the election to get rid of him in the first place. So let's talk about Judge Arthur Engeron. This is from Gateway Pundit. You know this guy. So Arthur Engeron, the headline, because usually they repeat that in the very first paragraph, and I hate reading that twice. And I don't like looking at this guy. This creep. Love to check this guy's laptop and see what's on there. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Although planting evidence on somebody's laptop or phone is one of the it's almost one of the least reliable and most likely ways that somebody could try to frame somebody. Nobody likes a creep with certain awful images on their phone or laptop, but anybody that confiscates them could plant anything they want on there. Who knows when? Oh, there's files. Yeah, I mean, it's like you don't. Anyway, the point is he's a creepy looking dude. Judge Arthur Engeron is now under investigation after claims surfaced that he received unsolicited advice. What does that mean? Well, let's unpack it. Let me shift the screen here. Actually, let me go big screen, little screen again. I think that might be the only good way to look at this. Yeah, we'll stay with that view. How about that? There we go. Okay. Under investigation after claims surfaced that he received unsolicited advice from a prominent New York City real estate attorney, Adam Lightman Bailey, weeks before ordering President Donald Trump pay a hefty $454 million judgment. $454 million. And what was that one? It's hard to keep track of all these. The assertion, the claim was that President Trump had the valuation of a property incorrect. Whatever the number was, whatever the specifics are, it doesn't matter what President Trump would say the value of his property is. The bank has due diligence protocols in place to make sure that they run an independent audit, investigation, analysis of said property. Every property does that. So then they would say the valuation that we've determined, we can offer you a loan up to X amount, this amount. Instead, they just want to steal $500 million from the former president and the future president, the likely future president, the hopefully future president. This investigation by the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct seeks to determine whether Engeron violated judicial conduct rules, NBC New York reported. In March, Engeron ordered Trump to pay more than a $355 million fine and barred Trump from serving as an officer or director of any New York corporation or other legal entity in New York for a period of 3 years. This is kangaroo court nonsense. Trump was also required to pay interest on penalties. Penalties for what? Bringing in a total to $454 million. Engeron claimed that Trump and each of the defendants participated in aiding and abetting the conspiracy to commit insurance fraud by their individual acts in falsifying business records and valuation, causing materially fraudulent SFCs to be intentionally submitted to insurance companies. Do you follow all that? By the way, Eric Trump and Don Jr. were also ordered to pay $4 million each. Letitia James sought $370 million in air quote damages when there was no victim in this fraud case. And she also sought to ban Trump and his sons from operating any businesses in New York. This is a mafia, and they hate you. They hate you. Why is this any of our business? Why should we care? Well, President Trump has a few really good provisions, has a few really nice talking points that he uses. He's got a few that aren't so strong. And let's face it, having not attended the debates where iron sharpens iron, President Trump hasn't really had to defend himself from attacks in a debate setting in a long time. So this is something to keep an eye on as we move toward the primaries. I'm sorry, past the primaries toward the general. President Trump saying, I'll debate Joe Biden right now, anytime, anywhere, let's go. I think even saying, let's do this in Madison Square Garden. Okay. But there is no victim in this fraud case. Being banned from operating and doing business in the state of New York, I mean, this is a mafia tactic. And what President Trump says that is probably his most powerful line. He will refer to them, the deep state, the Biden White House, the corrupt Justice Department, however you want to define the deep state and the actions that they're taking. He says, they're not coming after me. They're coming after you. The reason I'm getting caught up in it is because I just happen to be in the way. And so it becomes important to follow these cases. It becomes important that public opinion is overwhelmingly against these lawfare tactics to kneecap President Trump, former President Trump, potential future President Trump. Barred from doing business. Letitia James accused Trump of inflating his assets and defrauding lenders and insurance companies despite having no evidence or rationality. So yeah, then a judge ruled that President Trump can post a $175 million bond to cover Letitia James' $464 million judgment. Continuing here, Bailey stated publicly that he spoke with Judge Engelman 3 weeks before the decision, advising him to get it right. Although Engelman has denied influence from the State Commission on Judicial Conduct is reportedly investigating whether Engelman violated judicial conduct rules, according to NBC New York. I actually had the ability to speak to him 3 weeks ago, Bailey told NBC New York on February 16th. I saw him in the corner at the courthouse. And I told my client, I need to go. And I walked over and we started talking. I wanted him to know what I think and why I really want him to get it right. Bailey maintains that he has no personal connection to any lawsuits involving Trump and is not a fan of the former president. He claims to have advised Engelman that a ruling imposing such a substantial fine could damage New York's economy. Bailey also mentioned that Engelman had a lot of questions, about certain cases during their conversation. In response, Judge Engelman's spokesperson Al Baker vehemently denied any impropriety, stating that no ex parte conversation concerning this matter occurred between Justice Engelman and Mr. Bailey or any other person. The decision Justice Engelman issued on February 16 was his alone, deeply considered and wholly uninfluenced by this individual. The Latin term ex parte means from one party. In legal terms, it refers to a legal proceeding that is conducted without the presence or notice of the other party. It can also refer to improper contact between a judge or party and a lawyer. New York State rules of judicial conduct explicitly prohibit judges from engaging in ex parte communications, except when seeking advice from a disinterested expert. Disinterested, that's a very key word there. According to New York law, if a judge inadvertently receives an unauthorized ex parte communication bearing upon the substance of a matter, the judge shall make provision promptly to notify the parties of the substance of the communication and provide the parties with an opportunity to respond. So the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct will now consider whether the rules of judicial conduct were violated in this instance, according to sources familiar with the matter. Robert Tembeckjian declined to comment. He's the commission's administrator, citing a statute of confidentiality. Christopher Keese, a member of the Trump defense team, which has repeatedly criticized Engelman's handling of the case, said if Bailey's claims are true, it casts doubt on the integrity of the process. The code doesn't provide an exception for, well, this was just a small conversation, or, well, it didn't really impact me, or, well, this wasn't something that I, the judge, found significant. No, the code is very clear. Several experts consulted by NBC New York said the rules are meant not only to prevent outside influence, but also any appearance of outside influence. Kind of similar to Another judge and his daughter. We'll get to that in a little bit. Daughter who's making a bunch of money off of the Trump tactics of destruction, trying to ruin the man. So we'll keep our eye peeled on Engeron. Switching gears over here. This was a thread. We'll walk you through it, and we've kind of seen this. Kind of go touch and go on this one because the reply was just merely asking if this is accurate. The claim in this post is that there are incentive programs. We've seen this around eligibility programs, initial first payments. What kind of bonus would Anthem members receive if they gave out certain? Now here's where I do I decide to just fully blow up the YouTube opportunity for this account to speak? Can I say the V word? They've canceled show after show if you mention the vaccination. 30%, there's a $100 bonus. 40% of Anthem members, $150 bonus. 50%, $175 bonus per newly vaccinated member. I've seen this going around. And the reply was in response to this is why your doctor gets aggressive. Have you had an aggressive doctor try to push something on you? I did. Not very, it wasn't aggressively, it was very matter of fact. And there was no balance. There was no nuance. There was no hedging. There was no explaining. It was just, yeah, you should take this thing. And there was really no other side to it. Informed consent. Was informed consent being given appropriately? So anyway, it's something you can dig into. I'm not going to really go into it much. It's on the YouTube channel at American_media_. And once again, our reaction was asking, is this verified accurate? I've seen these forms before. That was connected to a I was trying to scroll. There was connected to one more story. Well, how about this one? We'll tell you this. Disclose TV. Let me click on it. Disclose TV is reporting is withdrawing the COVID vaccine worldwide. Please don't. Please. The article. God. I'm not clicking another. Oh God, do I have to click another? You know what? I'm out. I'm not doing it. I don't like it. I'm just gonna go ahead and close that. Disclose TV. Sorry, you had your chance for me to read your story, and you're making it difficult. So it is being reported that AstraZeneca is being withdrawn nationwide. I think that's where media could not be played. Robert Malone. Interesting. Yeah, I think that's where we'll leave it at the moment. But all those stories were connected. Truth Justice is saying the data shows that the COVID vaccinate. Anyway, I can't even have this conversation. I can't even talk to you about this topic. I mean, unless I'm totally fine with YouTube, Google destroying our channel, which they've demonetized us. They've shadow banned. They've capped the amount of people who can view our content. Yeah, they've removed our advertising. They've deleted videos. So interesting. This Robert Malone video will not play. So I'll encourage you to go check out Lions of Liberty at Lions of Liberty or at John Odermatt. He just he's scheduling a conversation with Dr. Robert Malone. John Odermatt and of Lions of Liberty was our guest on. So go ahead and follow them and wait for that episode to drop. But anyway, Cat Turd responds to this saying the conspiracy theorists are now up 145 to 0. Well, what the heck? Let's listen to a conversation with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., shall we? Let's just kind of let this one go. It's on the same topic. It's in their words. Two people discussing it. You make your own decisions. Go to who.int, go to cdc.gov, go to cdc.gov/vaccines. So you can make your own personal medical decision based upon the best evidence you're able to glean. But I'm a firm believer in having conversations. Oh, it's dangerous misinformation. It's dangerous, potentially dangerous medical misinformation. Oh, is it? Oh, is it now? And who the hell are you to tell me what I'm allowed to discuss and what I can't discuss? What I may consider and what I may not consider. Screw you, YouTube, Google. Screw you, Meta, Facebook, Instagram. So here's a conversation that I'm not going to agree with or disagree with per se. But here's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking with a pro-vaxxer. I don't see the gentleman's name. Brian Shapiro. All right, then, here we go.
You would agree with me, though, that the vaccinations, they did save lives. It wasn't all bad and all poison and all these people died from the COVID vaccinations, that it helped save some lives and it did more good than harm. Would you be willing to agree to that?
I don't see how you make that statement. I think, first of all, we have the highest COVID death rate.
That's interesting. He's, what was that? That's kind of like the Socratic method. If you, I've seen Steven Crowder videos, like where he says, "Change my mind." He'll set up a table and debate random people. Anyone who wants to come up, have a conversation, a debate, whatever you want to call it. And I believe, let me get the definition of Socratic method. But it's a form of argumentative dialogue between individuals based on asking and answering questions. Okay, so maybe the specific part that I'm referring to is when you're trying to define terms. And what this host is trying to do here, he lays it out and says, well, look, I think you could agree that we would blah, 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 blah. And the RFK Jr. response is, I don't know how you could come up with that thought. And he starts laying out his case. So he's right off the bat, they are not agreeing on the terms. How do you know what the long-term effects are? We don't. With the level of data that we've been receiving, how do you know what's accurate? And Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he brings, like any political beast, like any political figure, they will have strong points, they will have weak points, they will say correct things, they will say incorrect things. But I think on food and water, trying to ensure a clean food and water supply, I think RFK Jr., he gets points for wanting a lot of the right things. Now, some of the solutions and proposals he has, you may disagree with those. And that's fair. That's fine. That's relevant. But it's the want of clean food and water and the focus on it that a lot of good information comes out. Also, RFK Jr. is very strong on health. Obviously, food is related to health, but health and medicine. So there's an interesting conversation. Here's a clip from it. Let's just listen to a couple of people talk as you consider your options and consider how we're going to write history. That was a conversation that I had with John Odermatt. Check out that show. It's posted on YouTube and Rumble and X and Facebook and all those places. But John and I discussed just COVID in general. Like, how are we? Some people are trying to stop talking about the issue. Well, it's pretty big. It's pretty significant. And a lot of things were wrong. A lot of things were incorrect. And some things were very intentionally wrong and intentionally incorrect. And for the people that just want to not talk about this, I think we should talk about it. Now, Blake Wally, who I've done, a little more than a year of the revamped, rebooted Agree to Disagree shows with, I'd had many conversations with him in the past half year about like, I'm not very interested in banging my head up against a brick wall talking about, oh, there's tension in the Middle East again. Oh, there's conflict in the Middle East. There's attacks. There's battles. Israel's involved. Palestine is involved. It's like, you could set that on repeat and play that same story every couple months. Doesn't change, doesn't move the needle, doesn't change things. It's not particularly interesting to me, much like stories about race and racism or complaints or accusations of race and racism impacting XYZ. There's often so little of substance in those conversations that I don't even broach them. I will scroll past. I'm just not particularly interested. It's not to say they're all true, not to say they're all false. It's just, oh my God, tension in the Middle East. Israel was attacked again. Okay. Oh, they're responding. Yeah, that's usually what happens in a fight when you're slaughtered. Yeah, but I'm outraged. Okay. Be outraged. Yeah, but did you hear this report about X amount of casualties? And can you believe a hospital? It's like, well, I understand what the propaganda outlets are putting out there as stories. But in a war, you can't trust what you're getting out of Ukraine. Are you kidding me? You can't get accurate information out of America. But yeah. The pro-Palestinian outlets are going to give us accurate information. Okay, I'll believe that. On the flip side, I don't think we should be taking Netanyahu and Israel at face value. They're putting out information. We're in the middle of a war. Both sides are trying to look as sympathetic as possible while trying to make their opponent look as demonic as possible. That's just par for the course. That's not excusing anything. It's just, really, we're going to do this again. Every show, we're just going to keep going on and prattling on about this stuff. I just don't find it particularly interesting. Let's cover what we can, but let's move it along. So anyway, regarding the vaccination issue, need to have more conversations about it. So let's listen to RFK not agreeing to terms right off the bat, and let's see where he goes with this. But you watch the interviewer, he looks off to his side real quick, as if like, what? I didn't expect to get shot down this quickly. You ever go up to somebody who's air quote out of your league? You shoot a shot and doesn't go anywhere, and you look at your buddy and go, whoop. RFK in the USA. RFK-ing in the USA, says Kenneth B. Yeah, that's a good point. Does it matter? Rinse and repeat. Does it matter? Rinse and repeat again and again. I mean, we could take this to the philosophical endpoint of, does any of this matter? Is any of this real? You could go down the rabbit hole of do as thou wilt. You could also just kind of view the whole world. Well, I guess that's the way to view the whole world. Selfishly, and it doesn't matter. There's no karma, there's no repercussions, there's no eternal soul. You don't get dinged points if you act like an asshole and harm other people. There's the libertarian philosophy of do no harm. Then you combine do as thou wilt, but do no harm, and say, now that's a pretty good, if you take those concepts, that's a pretty good way to try to govern a nation and govern yourself, to regulate yourself. Do as thou wilt, as long as it causes no harm. So anyway, here we go. Just look at him look off to his left instantly when RFK Jr. doesn't agree to set up these terms. I'm just gonna play it from the beginning and just shut up this time, and let it roll for a moment.
You would agree with me, though, that the vaccinations, they did save lives. It wasn't all bad and all poison and all these people died from the COVID vaccinations, that it helped save some lives and it did more good than harm. Would you be willing to agree to that?
I don't see how you make that statement. I think, first of all, we had the highest COVID death rate. We had one of the highest vaccination rates in the world in our country. We had 16% of the COVID deaths in this country, and we only have 4.2% of the world population. So whatever we were doing was wrong. There are other countries with low vaccination rates. For example, Haiti had 1.3% vaccination rate, and it had 14 deaths per million population, which is 1/200th of the death rate we had. Nigeria had.
That is so interesting. If the rate was that low for the vaccinations and the death rate was that low, what was causing the deaths? This coming from a host who had to bury his younger, healthier brother, and double pneumonia, COVID. But how much of a role did the remdesivir play? Or the ivermectin that was given in the wrong dosages? 12 milligrams? I don't know how they measure. Maybe whatever 12 was, it was supposed to be 60. It was 1/5. Or was it their insistence to put him on a ventilator? And really, after 2 weeks of torture, not being able to breathe, he was asking. He actually, on the FaceTime call when it happened, it was he had the machine on and pulled up a Ramones clip, and he pressed play, and it was 24 hours to go. I want to be sedated. Hoping that you could be sedated, put on the intubation tube, and it could give your body some time to heal, because his lungs were just torn up. Was it the ventilation tube? Was it the ventilator that blew the lungs out? He didn't really have the strength to continue. So maybe it was a bad decision, a bad outcome, regardless of what was picked. No, stay away from the ventilator. Or yes, let's try it. Maybe all roads led to the same destination. There's a lot of question marks that I have and unanswered questions. But whether it's remdesivir, withholding ivermectin once he hit the hospital, they refused to give it, but then we found a way to give him some, and it stabilized all of his readings and helped him for a little while until the lungs were done. What was it that actually got him? So as RFK Jr. is talking about this in Nigeria and Haiti, it's just was the treatment worse than riding it out? I know how this played out. It couldn't be a worse outcome. So, if I wish that I could go back and ensure and push real strongly to avoid the ventilation tube, because at least then maybe he would have had a chance. But yeah, remdesivir, and you hear all these stories and you read the whistleblowers, and if you give certain medications, you will get a bonus. If you pump somebody into the ventilation machine, you get your bonus. A significant tens of thousands of dollars bonus. But there was only one protocol to follow. Who the hell said doctors are not allowed to practice their medicine? That they're not allowed to innovate? That they're not allowed to make judgment calls and call audibles? That's not a healthcare system I'm very interested in participating in. When Obama took over Obamacare, it was oh, no, what we're going to do is we're going to take over 1/6 of the economy. And instead of having 50 states try 50 different things to maybe innovate and bring medical advancements to the forefront. And then we'll meet here in a year and we'll take our 50 best ideas and we'll delete our 50 worst ideas. And we'll take that data and turn it into Obamacare and completely revolutionize the medical industry. Obama didn't do that. He just seized power, seized control, and said, here's how we're doing things now. And you went, ugh. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan. Lie, lie. I lost my doctor, I lost my plan. And your prices went up. Ah, that's good, Kenneth. Kenneth says, karma is like caramel. It's sticky. Yeah, that whole karma thing. I'm choosing to live in a world where karma is something I might want to consider. It's just a good general rule, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done unto you. It's pretty great. It doesn't mean the person you're talking to gives a crap about it. But at least, maybe you can sleep better at night knowing that you didn't intentionally harm anybody. So anyway, let's listen to RFK Jr. talk about Nigeria. When I went through my divorce, I think I was talking to my dad. Maybe it was somebody else. And it's like, my reaction, whatever the question was, it was like, it only hurts if I think about it. And like most days and most hours of the day, most minutes of the day, it's like, I don't. I remember I went to a convention and I was in the habit of washing my hands. And every time I'd wash my hands, I would take my thumb and spin it on my ring finger to make sure soap wasn't underneath my wedding ring. And for a little while, just the act of wash, I had done it thousands of times over all the years I was married. And when I would spin the ring, that was a muscle memory. So as I was going through the divorce, set the wedding ring aside and then finish the divorce, whatever, my thumb would instinctively react to it. And I would go over there to spin something that wasn't there. And then I'd go, because when something like that doesn't work out, it's not a great feeling. But it only hurts if you think about it. I don't know, if I'm not washing my hands, it's something that happened and you move along. But when this topic comes up, it does trigger lots of stuff for me. It does make me want to discuss that very personal story with you. I was listening to Adam Carolla talking with some comedian, Sadiq something. And they were talking about how Adam was kind of one of the first people and consistently throughout the whole pandemic said, this COVID thing, if you're not super obese and if you're not 90 years old, you're fine. That's what I thought too. Take vitamin D. Don't be 90 years old. Don't be 450 pounds. You'll be fine. For some people, that was the case. But for my brother, and he said, he's like, and I was right. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, you were not 100% because something got my brother. And what Carolla was saying, like, well, there was unless you had a pre-existing condition. I'm like, there's no pre-existing condition. Now, that's no pre-existing condition that we knew about. And so this whole coronavirus issue, what happened because of it, it dredges up a lot of stuff for me. And I don't always feel like talking about it, as you can imagine. Yeah, Obamacare. Obama don't care. Once again, it wasn't Obama. It's not like he sat down and wrote this out while he was paddleboarding with his chef. Did we ever get resolution on that story? Was that person writing a book, a tell-all? Were the notes in the laptop? Were they in the cloud? Were there hard copies somewhere? Imagine the conversations the Obama chef would have heard. Yeah, Kenneth, many people took vitamin duh. And just went along with whatever people were telling them. So anyway, I struggle with this. I I probably care about bringing up this topic as much as I want to talk about more race bait hustlers, or, oh, I'm so confident I have accurate info about Israel Palestine and I'm so outraged over XYZ. It's like there's so much unknowable stuff in there. I just don't have it in me to kind of rehash some of these things. But anyway, back to Nigeria.
1.4% vaccination at 1/200th of the death rate that we had.
Why?
And then the other issue is we're seeing all these, which everybody acknowledges now: myocarditis, the pericarditis, the seizures, all of these deaths. There were more deaths reported from the COVID vaccine than all vaccines in history combined since they started keeping records in 1986.
Could that possibly be true? That doesn't even seem possible. It doesn't even seem possible that that could be accurate. But once again, if they're trying to push this product, my one of my biggest frustrations with my brother was they said, remember the Biden administration was pushing to stop monoclonal antibodies that were proving to be very effective against certain strains of COVID. Florida was off the charts, successfully pushing this. Recovery rates fantastic, at least that's how I remember them. And the Biden administration was actively pushing the suppression of those therapeutic options, because, as they said, they only had emergency use authorization if there were no therapeutic options available. Well, now that all or nothing approach is the problem. If you want to put something out and say, here's this mRNA thing, we're calling it a vaccine, even though it doesn't 100% guarantee that you'll never get this, doesn't guarantee that you can't transmit it. Yeah, it'll just help you keep you from dying from getting COVID. It'll lessen the symptoms. All right, well, what if that was made available as an option? I didn't have a problem with that if you wanted to opt in knowing the risks. But why? Myocarditis, pericarditis. Oh, it's 100% safe and effective. According to what? I don't like being lied to. You can sell me a car without lying to me about it. I once bought a band van for our band, our rock band in college, saying that the person I bought it from, I showed up and he said, hey, I was a youth pastor. I used to take this back to Florida, down to Florida from Ohio and back. So a lot of these miles, it had a lot of miles. He goes, so a lot of these are highway miles, just long trips, very well cared for. He goes, let me tell you, there's a hitch in the door. You got to lift it up as you close it, or else it's not going to lock properly. Okay. The windshield wipers, they're stuck in the middle position. Don't know how to fix it. You'd have to buy another motor. Someone looked at it. They said it was a couple $100. I didn't do it. The wipers work, but they're stuck in like the diagonal position at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock. I don't know, whatever, 1:30. And he went through a list of things. This doesn't work. The air conditioning, you got this seatbelt. You get like all of these things that are wrong. And I just finally looked at the guy. I go, well, is there anything you like about it? He goes, well, yeah, I did. I said, yeah, but you just spent 10 minutes telling me all the stuff wrong with it. He's like, I'm just being honest. There was a youth pastor guy. I'm like, I like you. So I'm fine with the salesman as long as they tell me the truth. Here's the downside to the things. Here's the potential ramifications. Here's the stuff we don't know. Here's the stuff that has been reported. Here's the stuff. Don't cover it up. Don't lie to me. Don't hide the stuff that's obvious. So he's talking about pericarditis, myocarditis. 100% safe and effective. Nothing is 100% safe and effective. You can overdose on water, by the way. All right, maybe just waterboarding. Not really. Remember that story of person's bladder exploded? They were trying to hold their wee for a wee. I think that person died. Water can get you. Side effects to everything. So if you're lying to me about it, and now you're not just leaving it open as an option, but you're pushing it, I got a problem.
Is the seizures, all of these deaths. There were more deaths reported from the COVID vaccine than all vaccines in history combined.
So that tidbit, I'm gonna put a question mark, raise a flag. I'd love to learn a little bit more about that. Like, where is the citation for that? So, I do have excuse me, I do have an interview request in with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I hope I'll have the chance to speak with him. I have interviewed presidential candidates before. Former Louisiana Governor Buddy Roemer was in the Democratic primary. I interviewed Gary Johnson, Libertarian presidential candidate. I did interview John McAfee, Libertarian presidential candidate. So this wouldn't be my first rodeo, but I would love to ask for like a follow up on that. Where does he get that from? Where can we look into that and share that information more? I just want to make sure I have the sourcing right. But he continues.
Since they started keeping records in 1986. Oh, and the deaths were afflicting, Brian, young people, young athletic people.
Where has that been proven?
Let me just finish this.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that's a good point. Good job, host. He's saying, well, where is that? And I hope he says, go to the New England Journal of Medicine, and it's whatever, like, or it's linked on my campaign page. Okay. But yeah, young people. This was, this was really urgent if you were 90 years old. It was urgent if you were 450 pounds. But all of the kids, why were the kids being pushed so hard to ingest this stuff, to consume this stuff?
Was killing people during the last 6 months of their lives. So it was mainly a disease of the aged. You're seeing that people who are injured by vaccines are much, much younger. And the problem is nobody can answer your question because of a deliberate confusion of data.
All right. Nobody can answer your question because of a deliberate confusion of data. Oh, I can agree with that. But unless you have a place to cite a specific journal or something, and he might say that coming up next, but to assert what he said when I paused it about more than any vaccination, I need some info there. Just saying there's a confusion of data, that doesn't work for me. So let's hear him out and see if he kind of loops back around to give us something.
That should have been the first thing during a pandemic. The first responsibility of the public health agency is to have good data and to allow access to that data and good analysis by doctors all over the world. I'll say one other thing. Mm-hmm. The only really good clinical trial data that we have are from Pfizer. And during the clinical trial, Pfizer gave the vaccine to 22,000 people, and there were 22,000 people in the placebo group. After 6 months, there were 2 COVID deaths in the placebo group and only 1 in the vaccine group. So Pfizer was able to say it's 100% effective because 2 is 100% of 1. But what they should have been telling us is that you need to give 22,000 vaccines in order to prevent 1 death. This is what their own studies show. And if you're going to give
you'll have to give 22,000 vaccines in order to prevent 1 death. I see what he's doing. He's reverse engineering the data that, there's a Simpsons line. He says, 14% of all people know that. Or he said something, making up a fake number. Oh, Kent, you can use statistics to prove anything. Actually, what was that? There we go. To prove anything. I want that quote. I could play it, but I won't play it. But where's it typed out? People can come up with statistics to prove anything, Kent. Anyway, yeah, this would be a little more helpful if I had a producer to cue these all up. Anyway, let's continue with RFK.
Only to the vaccines to prevent one COVID death, you better make sure the vaccine is not killing anybody. Because if it is, you completely erase that advantage. But what they found in the study is that the death rate of all causes in the placebo group were 23% higher than the vaccine group. But they knew from the outset that there was a very good chance that this, and where were those, why were those extra people dying? Almost all of them from cardiac arrest. There were 5 cardiac arrests in the placebo group, in the vaccine group, and only 1 in the placebo group. So it appears that you're 5 times, if you take the vaccine, this is according to their data, you're 4 or 5 times, 500% more likely to have a fatal cardiac arrest over the next 6 months than if you don't. I don't believe that those clinical trials were valid because they're much too small. They should have had 440,000, not 44,000 people. They should have been 10 times larger.
That's true.
But if you just want to base your opinion on what they say, you would never take it.
All right. Well, there's RFK. Discussing what was rolled out. In Operation Warp Speed, I've seen this. This is a good way to attack President Trump, other than the lawfare that's going on, is to just, he pushed this thing. He pushed Operation Warp Speed, and he was reckless. He's the reason why. And just the answer is that it was not mandatory. It was not mandatory. And that's the key component. If you chose to trust the science, I am the science. Trust the media? Trust the Democrat Party? Okay. Have at it. That calls into question gas station sushi, other things you would trust more. But having the option to, and letting the alleged number one, Fauci was the highest paid government official in all of government. He was the highest paid, I believe. And that's not even to mention all the money he was making on residuals. Keep that in mind. Follow the money. Holy shit. But I mean, for President Trump to trust the vaccine specialist who repeatedly claimed they had something that was totally safe and effective. Well, I mean, what was a president supposed to do in that position other than trust the alleged most trustworthy name in that specific field of expertise, and to leave it open as optional? You're not going to get kicked out of the military for it. Biden did that. You're not going to lose your job. You're not going to get fired. You're not going to be shunned and outcast. You're not going to be banned from transportation. All these things that Biden was pushing. And by the way, Biden. I'm already against whoever the Democrats swap Biden out to replace him with. Okay. I'm 98% convinced they will swap him out for somebody at the last second. Almost completely convinced of that. The same administration that tried to shut people down and ruin your life if you didn't take the thing, they're also shuttling 20 million illegal alien invaders into the country. No requirements there. Oh, we don't need your papers. We don't need your name. We don't need biometrics. We don't need a DNA sample. Just come on in, do whatever you want. But for Americans, you're going to get cracked on the wrist with a ruler if you don't bow down and take it inside of you, like Harvey Weinstein made so many of those young starlets who were trying to get work in Hollywood. You're going to put this inside you, or else you're not going to get what you want. Oh, yeah, but 20 million people can come in. They don't need anything. That's how you know something is rotten in Denmark. Anyway, I hope I get a chance to talk with RFK. I want to expand on that a little bit because that did raise some questions. Kenneth asking about the herd. Is it about the herd? Did you hear that? Or is it about thinning? I think there's certain things you can't even mention. I think that specific quote that Blake brought up on a previous episode is what got a previous episode deleted by YouTube. Not just shadow banned, deleted. So make sure you're following the New American Media on Rumble and Odyssey. Because anything uploaded to YouTube is simultaneously put on both of those networks as well. Operation Warped World. Yeah, no doubt. Na 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 na. Science. Na 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 na. How did you say na 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 na? Was it na 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 or na 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 na? Hey hey hey, science. Na 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 na. Which one is it? Or nya 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 nya. Evasion of the vote snatchers. Huh. Yeah, it's an invasion of the vote snatchers. We're going to talk about that coming up as well. Make sure you're following the New American Media on X at American_media_. And if you like us and want to support us, we are on patreon.com/the New American Media. You can buy us a cup of coffee a month, $100 a month, $1,000 a month, $10,000 a month. If you have way more money than time and you appreciate people standing up trying to find out what's really happening in this world, not just regurgitating a whole bunch of talking points that are crap. Valiant Thor, thank you, Kenneth. He's saying I could sing that either way. Just end it with science. I am the science. Valiant Thor, how are ya? Says astonishing how our words are more patrolled than the southern border. Holy shit, that's a great line. Oh, here, let me put that up on the screen here. What do I don't even have a tag on the screen. Let me go to the chat. There we go. That's a really good one. I need to do that. The reason I haven't been doing that so far is because I'm on another page. I'm not even looking at this. When I was doing the shows with Blake, it was easier because it would be a little bit of a tag team. I'd go on a rant, and then he could put some stuffs up there, and then he would start talking and going through a story. Then I could scroll the chat room. So anyway, as we try different methodologies on the show, we're going to try to learn different techniques to deliver the audio-visual tips and tricks that you need. But yes, astonishing how our words are more patrolled than the southern border. Absolute insanity, people. Absolute insanity. No doubt about it. Okay, well, here's something I would not have played during a show with Blake, but hey, I'll give you this one. It's a quick one. It's a message from a guy that he cannot stand. I'll let him use his own words, but I don't need to bring him into this. But the Biden administration, in no uncertain terms, appear to be, I don't know, how would you say it? Accusations, let's say that. Accusations have floated around that the CIA is now negotiating with the CIA for a ceasefire. Okay, that's one way that it was put out there. It's been put out there that there's a ceasefire arrangement and Israel is not, they've backed out of it. Well, that's one way that something could be reported. Could also be reported that Hamas, they're the proxy, through Iran? Iran was funded, and then Hamas made the attack, killing 1,200 people. No, there's never been a ceasefire. You haven't released the hostages. You haven't given up the people that committed the atrocities and killed 1,200 at the music concert. So no, we're not done until we're done. Give us our people back and give us the people that committed the attack. When we get that, we can stop. So maybe there is no ceasefire arrangement, but what is true is that I keep saying Obama. I mean, we know Obama's people are pulling the strings here. They have been, they're continuing to. But yeah, they've never been a fan of Israel. The Obama, Biden, Democrats, they've never liked Israel at all. I think that's pretty fair to say. But the administration is now saying that if they go into Rafah, they're gonna withdraw. They're not going to send supplies and munitions, like the ones that have precision, like the good weapons, the good missiles, the good bombs. Oh, what's a good bomb? It's just that you can very precisely target and aim it. So if they say you can't have those anymore, they're just going to have to use things that will necessarily result in more collateral damage, which seems to be the thing they don't want. But what we do know is that Biden is pretty universally hated on college campuses. The thing uniting the right and the left is the chance of fuck Joe Biden. And you'll hear that on both sides. Yes, both sides. The anti-Hamas protesters and the anti-Israel protesters, or the pro-Hamas protesters, or the pro-Palestinian protesters. However you want to specifically split the hairs and define those. But anyway, here's the leader of Israel, who some will call a war criminal, and others will say, if you've been getting attacked by your neighbors relentlessly, and then they finally came in and butchered 1,200 of yours, yeah, I could understand why this guy would go completely scorched earth on the other side. But here it is in 39 seconds of his words.
אנחנו ערב יום העצמאות.
Oh, doggone it. He's going to speak in... Doggone it. Hang on. If I go back, I might have to scroll again. Oh, okay. It is translated. So if you believe the translation, he says, we're on the eve of Independence Day and the War of Independence 76 years ago. We were few against many. We had no weapons. There was an arms embargo on Israel, but with the greatness of our spirit, bravery, and unity amongst us, we won. Today, we're much stronger. We're determined, and we're united to defeat our enemy and those who seek our destruction. If we have to stand alone, we will stand alone. I've already said that if we have to, we will fight with our fingernails. But we have much more than fingernails, and with the same greatness of spirit, with God's help, we'll win together. So the point of reading you that is just, that's the reaction to... Well, Mark Levin says, this is to you, Biden, you fool. Well, this is in response to, you got all these clowns, Blinken, and Victoria Nuland's gone. She left with the debacle of Ukraine, although it was Nuland and Obama Biden that overthrew Ukraine in 2014, which led to this expansion of allegedly soon to be NATO Ukraine, that caused Russia to say enough is enough. We're not tolerating this, and they lashed out. It's like, wow, people can only put up with so much for so long. That's shocking. But yeah, Biden's threatening to take away tools, and so Levin calls him a fool. Anyway, there's your little update there. And then you've been hearing some stories about how they plan to rebuild Gaza. A lot of complaints and a lot of derogatory terminology used about that area. It's an open air prison. It's hell on earth. It's apartheid state. It's a ghetto. It's an open air ghetto. It's a gulag. It's like, okay, well, this sounds like hell on earth, and Hamas, who's been ruling it, sound like demons on earth. So get rid of Hamas, rebuild the place. So you're starting to hear stories come out. And then, of course, accusations. They only want to rebuild the place. They only demolished it so they could get to a pipeline, or something about moving oil and natural gas, and it'll be bigger than the Suez Canal. And okay, well, there's that. Leave the comments up on the side. Oh, can I do that? Yes, here, let me do that. Let me leave the comments up on the side. Thank you. How do I do that? Chat. Okay, hold on. Chat again. How do I get them on the side? Oh, here we go. That would be for you, Kenneth. New comments will display here. Bam. Okay. Well, I think I'm lost in the mix now. Let me go side by side. That's above and below. Here, side by side, I said. Now that's just weird. Okay, we'll go above and below. Kenneth saying, instead of collateral damage, I have cholesterol damage. Well, see, cholesterol is another one of them. Eggs are good. Eggs are bad. Cholesterol, statins. It's like, is cholesterol bad? Like, why are meat and eggs being demonized, and dairy? Isn't that what humanity's been eating for friggin' ever, as long as we've known how to? And now it's when everything's with hydrogenated this and canola that and rapeseed this and uh, what are the other terrible ones? Seed oils. Just avoid the seed oils. Um, yeah, you want to eat healthy, get back to meat and eggs and fruits and vegetables and just eat real food. I don't have collateral damage. I have cholesterol damage. Yeah, I just wonder how so many people are put on statins and they're concerned about cholesterol. And it's like there's good cholesterol and bad cholesterol, but even the bad cholesterol isn't that bad, some people have said. So I don't know. Exactly. Exactly. Well done. Thanks, Ken. Okay, so let's continue scrolling through the news of the day. Patrick Byrne. Here, let me go piece by piece. Berry County Sheriff's Office. So this is from Peter Berne. Oh, Egger. Egger. We're talking about eggs. Bernegger. Bern Egger. We're back to eggs. Got to be very precise on how we pronounce that word. By the way, sticks and stones, people. Dominion, according to Peter, he says Dominion failed to disclose to Congress that the motherboard in the election equipment is not only sourced from China, but it is tested in China. From Leaf's letter here. This is a clear, gross violation of several federal laws. Dominion is toast. See the other letter by Sheriff Leaf in my tweet below. Okay, well, this is something. You know what this is? This is not me accusing Dominion of something, so you can't come back and sue me. I'm reporting on what is being reported. So the Berry County Sheriff's Office here, Hastings, Michigan. Dear Congressman Perry, please be advised that the Berry County Sheriff's Office has had an open investigation for several years related to election law violations. My office recently received evidence related to this investigation that requires immediate review by Congress. I am attaching documents directly from Dominion voting systems that demonstrate lack of truthfulness and transparency when testifying before Congress in January 2020. Following the January 2020 hearing, Congress specifically requested information from Dominion regarding the percentage of Chinese parts that are used in the Dominion brand election equipment. Dominion failed to disclose to Congress that the motherboard in the election equipment is not only sourced from China, but it is tested in China. The desire to secrete. I mean, to secrete is to like ooze or. Anyway, the desire to secrete and hide this information from Congress is concerning, considering former Assistant Director of the FBI Counterintelligence has stated that Chinese manufacturers can be forced to cooperate with requests from Chinese intelligence officials to share any information about the technology and therefore pose a risk for U.S. companies. Additionally, testing and modifications are taking place in China on Dominion brand firmware for the HP printers provided by Dominion to local clerks. This changes status of the equipment from commercial off the shelf, COTS, to modified equipment, which would require EAC certification. Dominion further failed to disclose to Congress that Dominion employee, Andy Huang, formerly with China Telecom, which is owned by the Chinese Communist Party, was given authority and access to reset the servers on U.S. election equipment remotely from Canada. As you know, the FCC issued orders to show cause on April 24, 2020 against China Telecom, stating there is deep concern as to the vulnerability to the exploitation, influence, and control of the Chinese Communist Party, given they are subsidiaries of state-owned entities. What? I mean, this is damning stuff here. According to the Berry County Sheriff's Office here. Here we go. Unfortunately, it continues. Dar Leaf is the person's name. Dar? D-A-R, Dar. Kenneth, is that vitamin duh or vitamin dar? This memorandum, this letter continues. Unfortunately, the national security concerns continue. Dominion failed to disclose the use of Huawei phones utilized by its Serbian employees, the same Serbian employees remoting into the U.S. election system during the U.S. elections. The Center for Strategic Studies published a report in 2020, becoming a Chinese client state. The case of Serbia, which highlights that China donated Huawei equipment to the Serbian government. Dominion employees in Serbia utilized Huawei phones and had security breaches related to their work at Dominion that they discuss in the email communications. I am attaching a report from the FBI on its concerns related to Huawei and Chinese security risks, which increases the concern that Serbia is a critical component to China's digital Silk Road. I look forward to assisting Congress with its investigation to resolve these national security concerns. Holy crap. Is any of this true? Alaska Girl continues here, saying that states deceived their citizens. They did have internet capability. Here they are referenced as almost two different types of machines. Someone posted this a long time ago and you can't get answers. Here, let me make sure that's retweeted for your viewing pleasure. Go ahead and do a deeper dive on X at American_media_. Peter reporting, saying that globalist Rupert Murdoch and Fox caved to Dominion because Murdoch knew this information would be revealed at trial and the rigging of the election would be exposed for the whole world to witness. I mean, it's a mighty fine accusation there. Patrick Burns says, as I've been telling the world since about November 10, 2020, a motherboard is to a computer what a frontal lobe is to a brain. If the motherboard is made in China, the entire system is compromised. So what we need to do is figure out if that's accurate. We need to determine what in the world is going on with all this stuff. And I, as well as many intelligent people out there, are calling for paper ballots, same-day voting. No more shenanigans. No more potential for shenanigans. No more potential for shenanigans. And that's why one of the questions of today's program is trying to find out, do we trust elections? We'll talk about that more in a second as we scroll through here on the Agree to Disagree show on the New American Media. What cost more, the chicken or the egg? Okay, libs of TikTok here. They're saying this is an exclusive. A disturbing assignment that's been used at Tigard Twal SD. Hold on. Tigard Tualatin School District. There's a disturbing assignment that was used here, asking students to draw comparisons between Donald Trump and Hitler. Yeah, by the way, if you're going to do that, do it to Biden. Do it to Obama. What does Trump have to do with this? A school official admitted to us that Trump's quotes are propaganda and agreed that the assignment could be seen as politically biased. Public schools are government-run, far-left indoctrination camps. Amen. I call them Marxist indoctrination camps. If you're on Facebook, go to TNAM, School Indoctrination Network, SIN. School Indoctrination Network. TNAM School Indoctrination Network. My God, homeschool your kids. My God, pull them out of these places that teach them nonsense and confusion. They're not getting educated. They're getting brainwashed and warped into their little confused army of nitwits who regurgitate talking points once they've been browbeaten and embarrassed and shamed for who they are long enough to the point where they don't want to be the person that speaks out and gets the ruler on the wrist, the ruler on the knuckles. And they just go along with this claptrap that's ruining the country. And therefore, ergo, some say ruining the world, because a world without American leadership can get kind of chaotic. Look what you're seeing in the absence of Biden leadership. Trump was in there. Stuff made sense for several years. It made sense. It was calm. Abraham Accords. Nothing in Ukraine. Democrats take over. Completely destroy Afghanistan and give all the weapons to the bad guys. Now you got a war in Israel. Now you got a war in Afghanistan, or Ukraine, the Ukraine. I was listening to John B. Wells discussing Ukraine and the Ukraine, about how the Ukraine is a region of Russia, and changing it to Ukraine, a country of Ukraine. Like, the people there consider themselves to be Russian. A lot of them do. So John B. Wells is now calling it, John B. Wells from Caravan to Midnight. It's a good show you should check out. But he's calling it the Ukraine now. Tired of left-wing schools, of course. Yo, Biden. Nope, not reading that one, Kenneth. Thank you very much. Conform is the norm. Yeah, I did not get along with my teachers. I don't take too kindly to indoctrination and stupidity. I definitely challenge. I challenge the nitwits who are putting claptrap out there as propaganda. Anyway, it says public schools are government-run, far-left indoctrination camps. Parents, do you know what your kids are learning? Sadly, I don't think many people do. Yeah. Hitler versus Trump. Oh, yeah, by the way, if I mention that word, I might get banned off of YouTube. Screw you, YouTube. Follow the New American Media on Rumble, please. One guy caused the death of 80 million people and tried to exterminate an entire race. The other guy lowered your taxes and hurt your feelings. So knock it off. You look stupid. I think that's pretty fair. And wasn't it Elon Musk just responded to somebody dumb? Was it Mark Hamill? I think we covered this last week. Mark Hamill was doing the Hitler Trump thing, or Rob Reiner. They all blur together, these nitwits. And Elon's reaction was like, well, we had 4 years of Trump, and here's the comparison. And it's not even a comparison. He shut him down so well. Anyway, here's our reminder to go dig into the AstraZeneca story, that it's being withdrawn worldwide. I mean, that could just be due to lack of demand, because there's not much of a demand right now, or for other reasons. Let's listen to Burgum. Let's see what Burgum has to say. Oh, okay, perfect. This is just kind of putting a wrap around, not a reach around, a wrap around. Battle Brian. Battle Brian? What's Battle Brian about? I don't know. I like the sound of it, though. Battle Brian. Anyway, here's Captain Eyebrows discussing what we were saying about Israel and what Biden's trying to do to take the weapons away now. By the way, this being the thing that Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats and Biden and Mike Johnson, Speaker Johnson, oh, they had to have their Israeli funding. Oh, my God. We can't pass a budget. We can't secure our southern border because we're nincompoops. But we must fund the beast. We must give the military-industrial complex money for war weapons in Ukraine and Israel. And now Biden's taking the weapons away from Israel. Can we please make it make sense? I can't really follow the lines of logic on almost any of this shit. But let's hear Doug Burgum.
Well, I think it's truly unbelievable. We're in completely new territory here for a president of the United States, because we've always had a rule, which is don't negotiate with terrorists. But Joe Biden has gone way beyond that. He's actually negotiating for the terrorists.
And by the way, you remember Bo Bergdahl, the deserter who ended up with the Taliban? And then what Obama gave up to go get the traitor? Oh, we got a traitor in your midst, I see. Well, here, let me give you a whole bunch of bad guys as a trade. Well, why are we negotiating? He's a traitor. Why don't you just keep him? Oh, he might have had secrets. Yeah, I mean, he's a traitor and he's in enemy lines. But that's what Obama, Biden do. They negotiate with, they appease the attackers.
He's put a red line for Israel, for our ally. And when you think about that, think of every one of our allies around the world watching this and going, wow, Israel is supposed to be America's top ally, and the president is threatening them. How about Joe Biden saying, we're going to keep providing weapons until you release the hostages, Hamas? He should be negotiating alongside of Israel. He's on.
By the way, President Trump put out there, and a lot of people are echoing the sentiment. President Trump said something along the lines of, Hamas has a really bad track record of returning any Israeli prisoner, and that he suspects there aren't any to turn over, that these people are gone. One reason being the stuff that they would have endured would have been so telling that you can't leave them around to tell the story. You thought for a little while they were being held as negotiating chips to like, you can't punch me. I'm holding a baby. I'm holding a baby. If you punch me and I drop the baby, that baby's getting hurt. Is going to be on you. And it's like, I don't know, really? But as every day goes past and there is no mention of these captives, you just wonder if they should be added to the casualty list. You don't want to end negotiations and you do want this to stop. But when should this stop? Some people who I've had on this program want an immediate stoppage, want to investigate. No, not the people that attacked and killed 1,200, but the leader of Israel for retaliation. He's the one that needs investigated. Not so much the government of Hamas, the people who run Palestine, the Palestinians who committed the atrocity. No. Let's look into the other guy for responding. You can't hit him back. You know, there's defense, and then there's offense. But to be fair, I do want to aim for peace. I do want to aim for some sort of not a reconciliation, because there is nothing to reconcile. To them, Israel has no right to exist, and they must be washed off the face of the earth. From the river to the sea, cleansed, shaken off like a flea in an intifada. There is no common ground. There is no negotiating. There's no meeting in the middle. There's no saying, look, I don't know, 70 years ago you got a state, and I don't know, my grandpa hated it, and there's been so much bloodshed on both sides. Let's just stop. One side wants to stop, the other does not. And so at this point, they're just going, yeah, let's just bulldoze the whole thing. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying I love it. I'm just saying I understand.
On the opposite side of the table, and I can tell you that if President Trump was in office right now, this would not be happening, because this is Joe Biden's weakness on display, like it was with Afghanistan, like it's been around the world. It's just he continues to lead with weakness, and he's doing it for one reason. He's doing it because he's trying to get votes in November from the pro-Hamas part of the Democrat Party.
And I think most of that is fair. There's that other line. None of this would be happening under President Trump. Look, there's reality, there's objective, there's subjective, and then there's unlikely. Well, I would say it's likely that statement is probable, possible. Do we know for certain that none of this would be happening if President Trump was in office? No, of course not. There's no way to know. Donald Rumsfeld famously said, there's known unknowns, and then there's unknown unknowns. On the surface, that kind of feels like a Yogi Berra quote, talking about the restaurant all the Yankees used to eat at, but then the fans found out. Then there was a line wrapped around the block all the way down, several blocks away. And they asked him, Yogi Berra, and he said, that place is so busy, nobody eats there anymore. That place is so busy, nobody eats there anymore. Now, he meant the Yankees don't eat there anymore. That place is so busy, we don't go there anymore. But it contradicts itself, and it's poignant and brilliant and funny. Yogi Berra's got volumes of lines like that, but it's a great political line to repeat. Just like President Trump saying, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. And I mean, it looks into your soul, into your phone, into your device. They're coming after you. I just happen to be in the way. And that's why they're attacking me. That's a bulletproof, perfect political line. It cannot fail. It will not fail. And then this one, none of this would be happening under President Trump. You cannot know that with 100% certainty. Impossible. But it makes for a perfect talking point. And Burgum bringing that up is, that makes sense to me. God, can I just stay on the profile page instead of going to news to share? We hope to talk with Ford of News to Share. He got called in some other rally, protest, something he's filming on campus. We'll try to get him back and talk about encampments, Columbia, George Washington University, etc. But I digress. Continuing through the news here. All right, we talked about the school indoctrination, and we're talking about Israel. All right, how about this one? Reporting from Simon Ateba, American citizen Tara Reid. How long is this? This is a full. Okay, that's 23 minutes. I'm not going to, but if you want to watch it, go ahead and take. Yeah, Donald Rum-filled. Maybe I should go get myself a Donald Rum-filled drink. There's a nice Cuban restaurant around the corner. Maybe I'll go to get a rum-filled drink. Donald Rumsfeld, rum-filled. Anyway, Simon Ateba is reporting American citizen Tara Reid is seeking political asylum in Russia. Yeah, this is where we're at, people. Snowden has to flee to Russia. Tara Reid is seeking political asylum in Russia. Russia! Russia, Russia, Russia! Because that is how absurd the United States has become. So she's seeking political asylum in Russia after being exiled from the United States. She says the FBI is after her because she's accused Trump's opponent, Joe Biden, of sexual assault. So figure that one out, shall we? Dig into the story, watch the full 23-minute clip with him talking to Tucker over here on X at American_media_. Also, Charlie Kirk says the scarf lady, Dr. Deborah Birx, was it Birx or Bricks? Birx, now says that thousands of Americans could be vaccine injured from the mRNA shot and hints that some groups should not have been forced to get the jab. Holy shit, everybody. Yep, there's AstraZeneca ending its COVID vaccine, as reported on by Chris Cuomo. Hardly a right-wing echo chamber. Hardly. Cuomo. Kenneth says he feels like a note on a board under attack. That's true. That's how I feel too. Use the laugh emojis if you're watching on the YouTube channel. Type your comments and questions. Yeah, hit the 100 or the laugh emoji or the heart button. However you're watching, I think you can just hover over it and click you can do a heart or a laugh or a confetti or a what? Or 100. And you can click all those. I think engagement likes to see when you do that. By the way, day 2 of a lady walking past the office window, pushing a dog in a stroller, in case you were curious about that. I assume the dog's injured and can't get around. I hope that dog's not being restrained from physical activity in favor of being pushed around in a baby carriage. I mean, to each their own, but exercise is key. So yeah, Dr. Deborah Birx now saying that thousands of Americans could be vaccine injured from the mRNA shot and hints that some groups should not have been forced to get the jab. You know which groups should not have been forced to get the jab? Every group. That's a personal medical decision for all of us to make individually, free from coercion, threats, intimidation, fear, bribery, and brainwashing campaigns. Don't tell me Trump's the same as Biden. Biden's done all of the forcing. Trump was trying to clear it up and give terrified people an option. What's that option? Trusting the #1 name in vaccines to deliver something that could help in a safe and effective way. putting something out as an option and mandating it and forcing it through threats and intimidation and bribery, not even the same ballpark. Okay? I will not tolerate that line of that false equivalency. Okay? And you shouldn't either. This one's interesting. Let's do this. Just a Clarence Thomas appreciation post. Talk about someone who was unfairly maligned. Oh, goodness. Gunther is saying Justice Clarence Thomas is an American icon. But we were talking about Tara Reade and bullies. Joe Biden. By the way, let's start getting used to saying this. I'm already against whoever the Democrats put up as their next puppet to replace Biden with. Because Biden is the epitome of doing everything that the regime wants you to do. They just want a figurehead, a yes man, a yes woman, a yes gender queer, non-binary robot. So anyway, here's Justice Clarence Thomas.
If they're going to kill me, they're going to kill me.
Ooh. If they're going to kill me, they're going to kill me.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process.
Wow. That is really how it has to be. Jeez. Oh, my God. That reminds me of a conversation I had with John McAfee, who allegedly died shortly after. Because the ramifications of speaking and speaking your truth and trying to do good things, you're met with resistance. There's evil in this world. And I remember telling John, I need to pull up that clip. I should chop that down as a short and just put it out there. Because I don't really listen to my shows once they're done. But that one, it keeps playing in my head. And I want to go back to it and remember it. But I said something along the lines of, I have one voice to use. And as long as I have breath, I'm going to use it to speak as long as I'm allowed to have an internet. Yeah, Clarence Thomas here saying I would rather die than withdraw from this process. You got to be that fearless to go up against these monsters. The Boeing whistleblowers, the heroes, the people who were shadow banned, had their lives ruined, had their monetization taken away. I can't tell you the ways that the new American media has been pummeled by big tech and the influence of the deep state Democrats. My God, man, we were cruising. We were kicking a lot of ass. Got a little too close. They had to clip us. They had to clip us. And at some point, it's like, well, why am I even doing this? Why am I even covering the news? What's the point? Nobody's seeing it. You can't make money off of it. Was making money. Now you took it away. I'm covering the same news stories that the other outlets are. The same exact way. Ariana Grande shooting, for perfect example. Demonetized because of sensitive content matter. By the way, suggested videos. Here's NBC and CBS and CNN all covering the Ariana Grande shooting at her concert. They can make money off of it, but I can't because now I'm dipping my beak into the corporate propaganda machine's revenue money. Revenue money is the same thing. Revenue pool of revenue. But you know what? I really appreciate people like Blake who have, I won't say dragged me back into it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say Blake dragged me into this. Mandate Obama date night. I'm going to leave that one there. The creep state. Oh, the creep state's a good one. There's the deep state and the creep state. That could be on merch. I like that. The creep state. But yeah, I mean, over the years, Blake and I have teamed up on a lot of projects. Follow him at TV's Blake Wally on X. But yeah, I wasn't going to go to January 6th. And he said, hey, they're having this event. It's a big rally, and like we should go. I'm like, we should. I'm like, I don't. How did this happen? How did we get to this? Oh, okay. So he's going to go and give a speech, and they're going to march people in and arrest the people that just stole the election. Oh, okay. I mean, if that's what, none of that happened. You're like, how did we end up in a place where the people that fortified the election, as they bragged, the election interference that they bragged about openly in the Time magazine article to keep Donald Trump out of office in 2020, the election interference was massive. By the way, it's 1,000 times as massive in 2024. And there's nothing they can do to stop it. It's a freight train. It's an inevitability. But, like I said, 12, 14 months ago, Blake was like, hey, how about we relaunch the show? How about, what if we did regular shows? And, I had mixed feelings on it. You bang your head up against a brick wall. Like at some point, what good is this doing me? At some point, I don't know how to break through a broken system, a rigged system of media delivery. Yeah, there's a couple of pundits. There might be 100. There might be 500 that are paying their bills, working their jobs, and doing independent media. But for every Tim Pool, Joe Rogan, Steven Crowder, Daily Wire, Anomaly, for every Scott Adams, Sticks Hexenhammer, like try to think of the people I watch, try to keep in regular rotation. For every one of them that's doing what they're doing and succeeding at it, man, you got 1,000, you got 100,000, 10,000, you got a lot that are trying to put out similarly compelling, interesting, accurate content that just don't see the light of day. But I'm glad that I'm doing regular shows again and communicating with you. And you may ask yourself, that's a song. What song is that? And you may ask yourself, and you may say to yourself, it's like an 80s song. Who does that, Kenneth? But yeah, I'm glad that I'm doing regular content again. And it does take some of this attitude. Silly me for growing up thinking we had rights and freedoms in this country. I know George Carlin warned me. There's temporary privileges. There's no rights. Because if they take them away, they can't be rights. Temporary privileges. You have a list of temporary privileges. But forgive me for buying into the bullshit of thinking we had a free country. I don't know how long it's just been a criminal enterprise. But there are ideals worth fighting for. There are concepts that should trump whoever happens to be in power and abusing the people that are standing in their way. There should be some sort of karmic protection, divine providence that will assist the righteous against the wicked. I wrote for my school newspaper. I like journalism. I like finding out what's really going on. I really like pointing out known liars. It's okay to get something wrong. It's okay to get a story incorrect. It's okay to have information that you can revise your opinions. And I saw something, shared it. It turns out that wasn't accurate. And the pursuit of truth is all I care about. To repeatedly go back and tell lies, I have got no time or energy for that. So yeah, this Clarence Thomas thing, it's just, look at this energy. And there's
not
Biden.
for the purpose of serving on the Supreme Court, but for the purpose of not being driven out of this process.
Will not back down.
I would not be scared. I don't like bullies. I've never run from bullies. I never cry uncle, and I'm not going to cry uncle today, whether I want to be on the Supreme Court or not.
And that's Joe Biden up there, by the way. The reason that was relevant is because that was Joe Biden on the panel trying to ruin him. And that's what Biden does, tries to ruin people. If there's any justice in this world, Joe Biden's going to get political retribution. He will be known for his deeds. He will be excoriated. He will be shamed as the daughter showering, money laundering, the alleged daughter showering, money laundering creep, the head of the creep state. There you go. I like the creep. I might start using the creep state because we all know deep state. But it's been used so much, it almost just kind of feels like, doesn't feel, not that it's inauthentic and not that it's inaccurate, but it's a little played out to call them the deep state. I call them the deep state Democrats. Talking heads. As the days go by, and you may ask yourself. Okay, so here, let's check in. This is from RNC Research. Check out what's happening.
Students are upset because President Biden is scheduled to deliver the commencement address later this month. We've learned that Morehouse sent the invitation to President Biden before the war in Gaza. He announced a couple of weeks ago that he's coming. We started hearing rumblings almost immediately that some Morehouse students and alumni were upset, not just with Biden's support of Israel, but some also felt that Biden is using Morehouse as a prop to try to boost his sagging poll numbers among black male voters. Students are upset.
Oh, that's funny. That's rich. So weird, too. So weird. Yeah, kids hate Biden. He should get the lowest percentage of votes in American political presidential history. Biden should get swept in all 50 states. Tell me how Alaska feels about him with all of his energy reducing policies. Tell me how Hawaii feels after Lahaina burnt to a crisp and the assistance that they've received from Biden. You know, and just one more point about these colleges and about supporting Israel. Where's the energy on these campuses screaming in outrage to drag every one of the murderers from Hamas into the city square for an execution, for starting a war that's led to all this collateral damage? Where's the energy, the anti-Hamas energy? Spare me. How dare the people that got punched back? Just spare me. Anyway, people at Morehouse feel like he's not only using black male voters. And by the way, the word blackmail is perfect in context with Obama. Biden. I said Obama. I could probably say I have never confused Obama with Biden, or Biden for saying the word Obama, more than I have today. Something about today's episode, aside from the fact that I did have a guest and I did have a separate show lined up to do, and then we had to reschedule and it threw me off a bit. But I have never confused, and I will always say that this is Obama's third and most honest term. I say that unapologetically. I firmly believe that. Same puppet masters rocking that policy. And Obama definitely pulling puppet strings for sure. But I'm saying it accidentally instead of ironically, which is a little weird. Okay, so check this out. This is maybe the biggest story happening in the world right now.
We introduced legislation to fortify American elections and ensure that only American citizens can vote. I'm glad that important work and all of the other things that are on the table this morning.
So that is Mike Johnson. Biden-Harris headquarters. What? Mike Johnson claims Republicans are doing important work by introducing a bill to ban non-citizens from voting in federal elections, even though it's already illegal for non-citizens to vote in federal elections. Uh-huh. Oh, you've heard how they can get away with it, right? If they claim that they thought they were a citizen, it's legal. Allegedly. I've heard that bandied about. That may or may not be true. But if an illegal alien invader says, I thought this was part of the process and I'm a citizen. You set a court date 10 years down the road and I'm a citizen. I'm here. You didn't kick me out. Of course I can vote. If they believe it personally, that might be the get out of jail free card. So maybe that's what they're getting instructed at the border to say. Remember, that's also just like how they're instructed to go to certain points. To go certain places, you have to say certain things. You must say, it's like how every police video starts off. It's like if there's a confrontation and a struggle, they will say, stop resisting, stop resisting, stop resisting. In some of these circumstances, nobody's resisting. They're just trained to say it because that's their get out of jail free card. If a police officer can say the suspect was resisting, I had to do it. I had to battle strong. I had to push back. They were resisting. I had to escalate my use of force. A homeowner is told. Well, I guess not even a homeowner. Let's not go there. Just an American citizen has to be able to say that they felt their life was in danger if they discharge a firearm. Now that's common sense. That bird's looking at me funny. Pew! Yeah, by the way, don't ever shoot something if you don't plan to eat it. These people that sadistically shoot birds or cats or dogs, like what the F is wrong with you? Yeah, if you go hunting and get a deer, then you're gonna eat. Use it to eat. Like there's something sacred about that energy source. Now I will say the moles are causing a bunch of damage on my property, and I've decided that I have to evict them. I've tried various methods, and one of them is successful. It's final. I would much rather relocate them, but it hasn't proven to be very easy. So I'm left with the option I'm left with. But anyway. Stephen Miller responds to Mike Johnson and then Biden-Harris's response here, saying, it's official. The Biden campaign formally opposes the House bill to verify citizenship status to vote in federal elections. Currently, all illegals need to do to vote is to check a box. And you're seeing all these accusations that illegal alien invaders are being given voting forms. They are being handed the forms. It's just a matter of course. It's not something you request. It's not something you have to qualify for. They're just being given the form. And then, of course, you get into this where some states are trying to get away with, we just mail it to everybody. We just mail it to every address and whatever comes back, so there we have it. Okay. Okay, then. Biden wants illegals voting in mass, and this proves it. Well, I think we'll get to that a little bit more on that in just a moment here. But Colin Rugg, let's talk about this. There's a couple guys here. Their faces, they look gray or black or the shade of, I don't know, charcoal or something. They're in this I don't know. There's kids here, and they got faces that are white. Clown costume. I'm on record saying that I would have a hard time caring less for whiteface or blackface or greenface than I care. Spare me. We're not in the middle of minstrel show American history time. Oh, there's a deep-seated history. There's a painful history of, you know what? We're in 2024. Get a grip. It's fun or funny to point at Jimmy Kimmel dressed up like Karl Malone. Karl Malone. It's fun and funny to post images of Justin Trudeau in blackface. Got him. But really, folks, it's much ado about nothing. People dress up all the time. People even dress up as different sexes. Get a grip. Colin Rugg is reporting that 2 teens in California have been awarded $1 million after being accused of blackface while wearing acne cream, which has forced them out of their elite Catholic school. The teens sued St. Francis High School after initially seeking $20 million. I feel like they could have gotten way more than $1 million. Jeez. These efforts to just ruin kids, I don't. It just happened to a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Remember that one? Came after them. He had his face painted half red and half black for the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, they tried to ruin this kid. Remember the Covington kid? He was at the steps, where is he? Lexington, Kentucky. He was from Covington. He was at the state capitol. And some protester, some agitator was up in his face, yelling and just all sorts of stuff. And the guy's just sitting there smiling. They tried to ruin the kid. The left loves to try to ruin kids, confusing them about their gender, trying to make them hate who they are and the color of their skin for who they are. If you're white, otherwise, you gotta celebrate it. But that's who the Democrats are, which is why they should be allowed nowhere near a lever of power ever again. Kenneth B, the O face. Oh, show them the O face. Yeah, there's blackface, whiteface, and O face. What was that from? Is that from Office Space? Show them the O face. Office Space Super Troopers? Office Space, I think. Yeah. Oh God, Kenneth, that's a great point. The not so subtle dog whistle. Oh, there's one. There's one that the left likes to use. They like to say dog whistles. The not so subtle dog whistle from Biden Harris is vote for us or be removed. Very not so subtle. Well said. Anyway, these photos were taken in 2017, but they reemerged after the death of George. Oh my God. That Floyd situation is responsible for removing the Cleveland Indians as a franchise. The owner cited that for some reason, that now the Cleveland Indians baseball team had to be erased. Named after Louis Sockalexis, the first Native American Indian player to break that barrier in the major leagues. I think the Indians had 2 Indian players at the time. Yes, I know technically it's not the continent of India, but Indian is how they were referred to for a very long time. Not in a pejorative way. Not pejorative. Got to change the state of Indiana because it's got the word Indian in it. Give me a break. Anyway, when these pictures were shared in a group chat, that's when this came out. So the photo was shared on the same day that a meme of George Floyd was shared among students as well, sparking more outrage. The photo began circulating. Instead of investigating the matter, the school submitted to the pressure from students and parents. Yep, just like the Hamas supporters, the Palestine protesters who are calling for death to Israel, wipe Israel off the map. It's a state of isn't real. They shouldn't be there. They should get out of there. Yeah, that sounds very familiar. Pressure from students and parents. The defendants took it upon themselves to use the innocent and wholly unrelated photograph of the boys to make the malicious and utterly false accusation that the boys had been engaging in blackface and to engaging in blackface. The whole industry of Hollywood is about pretending you're something else. What is Dylan Mulvaney engaging in? The fact that we even use that guy's name, oh, here, let me acquiesce. That person's name. Whenever I end up in a scenario about pronouns, I decide to just not use the pronoun. I'll try to just say that person. You're not going to get me to say that a dude is a lady. I'm not going to do it. If it's considered polite in good company to not refer to a guy as a guy, just dropping the pronouns altogether is probably the only middle ground. Anyway, engaging in black, it's such a nothing. What would that hurt if someone was engaging in wearing makeup? My God, Estee Lauder. I don't know. I don't know many makeup companies. What's the one at the mall? There's a big one at the mall. Okay, that was from Office Space. Thank you. Appreciate it, Kenneth. Yes, from Office Space. Show them the O face. Oh, hold on. Was that was about Lumbergh? About Lumbergh's O face? I think I'm remembering that. I haven't watched that movie in a long time. But yikes. Anyway, and to recklessly assert that the photograph was another example of racism at FHS, the lawsuit says. So they were given $1 million. See, here you go. This is what I'm saying. It's easy for the right to then show Howard Stern. Yeah, see, like Howard Stern here, it looks like he is with the big white lips and the black face paint. It looks like he's doing minstrel show. I don't know what context that was taken. But yeah, there's Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy's playing a character here. Don't make me, come on, don't make me defend that idiot Jimmy Kimmel. He has more Trump derangement syndrome than anybody I've ever seen. His show has become so unfunny. I strongly question what kind of blackmail evidence they have against this guy. What is going on? But anyway, in this skit on, I think it was The Man Show, he's playing Karl Malone. He's just doing a skit about being Karl Malone. Of course he's got, like, oh, he wore blackface. And I know the Republicans that are sharing this, it's just like, well, if you're gonna keep bashing one side, well, we'll get you this way. And it's like, this is all a nothing. It's a nothing burger. Oh, who else did? Ted Danson did with Whoopi Goldberg. It's just, who cares? The Wayans brothers did a movie called White Chicks. It's called White Chicks. They dress like white chicks. Like, who cares? It's Hollywood. You're playing dress up. Anyway, I just don't really care. But they're getting $1 million, and that's important that you know. Okay, so this right here is super important. Discuss this on Tuesday, but it's been 2 days now since the Georgia State Elections Board found that Fulton County double scanned ballots and didn't keep the ballot images as required by Georgia law. Over 380,000 ballot images are missing from Election Day, and the media is silent. All right, well, I am the media. I am the silent. Hang on. I am the science. I am not silent. Jimmy Criminal. There are connections. There are accusations about a certain island. I don't know. Anyway, let's play this clip for you. This is Georgia. Holy crap, could it be any more obvious?
Does the investigation confirm that there are missing ballot images?
Yes.
Yes.
Missing ballot images.
Do you know why 380,761 ballot images from Election Day machine count are not available?
Wow.
We subpoenaed Fulton County for all of their ballot images. We received approximately 518,000 ballot images.
From Election Day?
Those were for the recount.
Those are from the recount, but we have no ballot images for 380,761 ballots from Election Day.
If you don't have the images, you don't have a vote. If a batch of spinach is contaminated with E. coli, you recall the bags of spinach. If your vote is contaminated with 380,000 pieces of E. coli, comma, ... What are you supposed to do?
Correct?
What was subpoenaed was the ballot images for the recount because that's what this case was about, not the Election Day.
Does Fulton County know why there are not 380,761 ballot images from Election Day?
By the way, whoever's running the audio, step your game up. Way too much buzzing, and then you can't hear the other people. It's not the best audio. Come on, Atlanta has industry down there. You can hire somebody with some audio video capabilities, can't you?
As with the investigators, we have not been apprised of this allegation. This is
As with the investigators, we have not been apprised of this investigation.
the first I'm hearing about it. I have
First I'm hearing about it.
what the basis of that allegation is, and so we would have to answer that at this time.
And they're saying they
Would Fulton County agree that every vote should have a ballot image?
This is just astonishing that we weren't able to get quick answers to any of these questions on Election Day or in the weeks leading up to January 6th when people are saying, how in the world could you certify Georgia? How could you certify Arizona? Alternate electors. That was something the Democrats were putting out there, and it's something the Republicans did also. Oh, but that's been demonized because a Republican did it now. Sure. All the guests at the time were talking about doing it and how it's perfectly fine to nominate two different batches of electors and you have an option then. It's been done before. What was it, Nixon in Hawaii and California or something like that? 380,000 ballot images missing from Election Day. Okay. Keep your eyes peeled on that. Continuing through the news, going to a lightning round here. Just going to touch and go on some of the other big stories. Make sure that you are all following some of the biggest stories in the news and some that are just interesting. So right here, Stephen Nelson in this politics. I don't know where this is from. Biden claims inflation was 9% when he came into office. Did you know that? It was actually 1.4%. All the kid sniffer does is lie. You know, when Joe Biden was up there in 2020, I guess would it be 2019 during the primaries? He was so unlikable. All those videos going around, interaction after interaction of just creepily smelling kids, girls, touching them. They're recoiling, shrinking inside of themselves to try and get away. I mean, it is classic predator behavior. This isn't like, I guess with Santa Claus, occasionally a kid bursts into tears, and that was part of the Christmas story. You'll shoot your eye out. You know, and there was a kid was it Ralphie's little brother burst into tears or whatever it was. But there's an instinct to either accept a hug and some level of physicality that feels good, and then there's a level of physicality that gives you the creeps, the creep state, the creeps. He was the most unlikable person, and somehow he commandeered the whole party. Everybody withdrew and backed him, and it was a done deal. The backdoor deals were cut. Buttigieg, I'll make you a throws dart. I'll give you transportation secretary. You cool with that? All right. I sure hope those Boeing airplanes continue unabated. I certainly hope that there's no Chinese air balloons floating over the United States, mapping and planning an attack. I sure hope that trains don't derail and then get intentionally set on fire during the Biden administration's term in Ohio. Okay. Yeah, not like that had repercussions or anything. Anyway, Elon posted this. This is interesting. Neuralink has just passed 100 days since the first participant in their clinical trial received his Neuralink implant. Okay. That's a good question of the day. Would you consider getting a Neuralink implant in your brain? I think there's a lot of people that have cognitive, what would you call it, dysfunction, malfunction, or injuries, or deficits, abnormalities. Maybe you can't see, maybe you can't hear, maybe something, your synapses aren't fired, bipolar, I don't know, all sorts of stuff. Obviously, the brain is the motherboard, per that previous story. You know, what do you would you consider getting a Neuralink? I think if you were in a bad enough spot, I think it would be worth trying. I think if you were that concerned about it and you wanted to take the emergency use authorization, Project Warp Speed, mRNA vaccine, if you wanted to take it, you should have the right to try that. And I believe President Trump passed that legislation, the Right to Try Act. You should have the right to try. If you're, maybe it's for anyone, but I think for them it was if you've received a terminal illness diagnosis, you should have the right to try something experimental. Because if not, then like your future, your destiny, your final chapter is already written. Why should you be prohibited from trying something? Well, it's unlikely that it would work, or it can't be confirmed that it's likely that it would work. Okay. Well, throw a dart and give it a shot. Maybe I don't get a bullseye, but what if I do? What if I do find a way to completely? Shouldn't you have the right to do that? Now, of course, I guess that gets into abortion. Shouldn't you have the right to do that if you decide you want to? And the fact of the matter is, I have held varying opinions on that topic. Probably formerly pretty pro-life. Formerly pro-choice. Maybe not pro-choice, but I think that in a country this size, I think having that available as an option is probably the way that you would govern a nation this size. That's not to endorse it. That's not to ban it. That's just to say if people decide to make their own decisions, you know, from a policy perspective, maybe that's the way to govern. But shouldn't you have the right to try? So Neuralink, would you get Neuralink? Would you put that into your body? Would you go ahead and say that you're going to get an implant? Would you get a chip implant from Elon Musk? What if it could do a million cool things? What if it doesn't? Welcome to the future, because we're here. I want to show you this because, oh my God, what the actual fork. I would encourage everybody to have a plan. Be prepared.
These are all IDs from South.
Be prepared and be ready to act in at a moment's notice to defend yourself and your loved ones in your community. This is border talk. Let's hear what's going on.
So these are all IDs from South and Central America.
Okay. It's kind of what you'd expect.
Yeah, the normal immigration, illegal immigration that we've seen
For
our whole lives here.
40 years, yeah, 50 years, yeah.
Some of these are fakes, like that one.
How do you know it's a fake?
The picture is
yeah.
way different color.
So they're looking. These are zip. If you're listening to the podcast, by the way, thank you, and subscribe on Spotify to the podcast, the Agree to Disagree Show podcast, as well as the Unhappy Hour Sports Show podcast. I think we're gonna relaunch that. Got a few ideas on the way. We operated very differently a few years ago, maybe during the last election cycle, and I think we're gonna get back to it. Some big things in the works, hopefully. But yeah, subscribe to those. But if you're just listening, they're discussing most of these IDs that they've acquired from the southern border, Central and South American IDs and fake IDs. This is kind of standard stuff that they'd been used to.
Than the normal ones. Even this one right here.
Yeah, it's actually pretty low quality, isn't it?
This one has a white background. The other ones have a light. And then we get over to China. From that line over is all
Oh, look at that.
China.
So are these Chinese cards?
Yes.
Okay. So that they got this in China, and that was their normal idea that they had in China.
So we haven't found very many of these.
But these are Chinese names on a Mexican ID. How does that happen?
This right here says visitante or residente temporal.
Are you following this? The Chinese are getting their fake IDs in Mexico and coming in. How many are being, the ones that are getting caught and identified, they're registering not as Chinese nationals. They're probably showing up in the skewed data. Just like how the cities are like, Corinne Jean-Pierre, she's like, violent crime is down some percent. It's like, hold on, you're not reporting the crime accurately. You can't get an accurate number to then say something's down if you've stopped collecting data on it. Are you kidding me? So these are Chinese people going into Mexico and they're getting Mexican ID.
Names on a Mexican ID. How does that happen?
This right here says visitante or residente temporal.
Temporary resident, okay.
Yep. Some of them say humanitarian. So they come and get these IDs so they're okay in Mexico. They get pulled over or they get stopped. They have a reason for being in Mexico.
Folks, one day the power might snap off. I hope you have a plan. I hope you have a community. I hope you have supplies. You should know what all of that means at this point. But Kyle Becker says new Chinese nationals are tearing up their Mexican IDs at the border before invading the United States. Why are they concealing their identities and what do they have to hide? Asks San Diego Mayor Bill Wells. This is a national security threat. All right, so here's another one about a little bit more background. House Democrats voted unanimously. I know we discussed this, but here's just kind of wrapping this up here. House Democrats voted unanimously to represent illegal aliens in the U.S. Congress. Are you catching this? The final vote was 206 Republicans in favor of adding a citizenship requirement to the U.S. Census. What? How in the world would you not have a citizenship requirement on the census? The only people that vote are citizens. All 202 Democrats voted against citizenship requirement. And 11 GOP members just didn't even bother to vote. It's not like this is important or anything. The citizenship question would lead to the Democratic Party losing seats due to its illegal representation of foreigners in the U.S. Congress. The Uniparty doesn't represent Americans. It doesn't even try to hide it. Oh, okay, cool. And who are the 11? That's a great question. Let's retweet that. Repost that, and then I'll share this list. The roll call of GOP votes. Sessions from Texas. Murphy and McHenry from North Carolina. Oh, McHenry. Huh. Weird. McCall from Texas. Luna from Florida. La Malfa from California. Hageman from Wyoming. Granger from Texas. Carter from Texas. Burgess from Texas. Hold on, you got 5 people from Texas who couldn't find it in 5 from Texas? And Banks from Indiana. Oh my God. Bill Mitchell reports the House Democrats just voted unanimously to give illegal aliens representation in Congress and the Electoral College. Is there any doubt Biden's motivation for open borders? And Bill says if you had any doubt why Biden was allowing an invasion at our southern border, here you go. Yeah, Joe Biden's misspeak. We put together, and you did this for President Obama's administration, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics. So, sometimes when the Freudian slip hits a little too close to home, huh? Yeah, so there's terrible flooding in Rio Grande do Sul. People of Brazil. Yeah, keep your eyes on Brazil, man. I just, Brazil and the United States have so many parallels with the admiration for Bolsonaro and how he's being threatened with jail and they're trying to destroy him, and how some criminal named Lula ended up seizing control of that country against the wishes of the people. You want to talk about a puppet being installed? Look at Biden. Look at what's going on in Brazil. Anyway, Elon is donating 1,000 terminals from Starlink so that emergency responders can make use of them for free until the region is recovered. So that's good. Not to be Elon's cheerleader, but he put himself in the news multiple times today. Oh, this story. Oh my God, in Belgium, a 14-year-old girl lured into the forest by her boyfriend, who then allowed 10 children to ambush and gang abuse her. My God. 11 people between 11 and 16 years old. Young people of immigrant origin. So perhaps illegal alien invaders too. Oh, good. And they filmed it and put it on social media. It happened 5 miles from the French border. She was in the forest for 2 days, abused and tormented. 6 of the suspects placed in a closed institution and 4 were placed under house arrest. Youngest suspect, 11. In the juvenile court. Belgium. How do you like that? Immigrant origin attack. So, I mean, would that be migrant crime? Our reply at the New American Media. Make sure you're following us. We're at American_media_ says death penalty feels appropriate. Send a message of what will and will not be tolerated in a society. Anyone disagree? Goodness. So here you have, look at this, Dr. Leanna Wen. Liz Churchill is calling her a wicked liar and a CCP agent of chaos. She's now attempting to cover her treasonous tracks. That stupid bee stated that vaccinations were drunk drivers that needed indoor mask requirements because we can't trust the unvaccinated. Yeah, the damage control that's happening now, dig into it. That one's on there. Here's just a nice, important reminder. In 2009, the guy on the left, that's Al Gore, said the polar ice cap would be completely ice-free in the next 7 years. And the girl on the right in 2018 said the world would end in the next 5 years if we didn't stop using fossil fuels. Happy May 9th, 2024. Let's ease up on the climate Hysteria? It is hysteria. You are hysterical if you're going nuts about this. And of course, this is President Biden. I guess this kind of wraps up what I was discussing in the previous episode. Barack Ravid says, breaking, President Biden tells Aaron Burnett that if Israel invades the city of Rafah, the U.S. will stop supplying it with artillery shells, bombs for fighter jets, and other offensive weapons. Yeah, I believe those are the precise ones. Katie Pavlich. Pavlik? She says, in other words, Biden declared that he wants Israel to lose the war against Hamas and Iran, rewarding the terrorist organization after they launched this war after murdering, raping, and maiming while still holding American hostages. Absolutely revolting. So there's a couple of final points that you could take a look at and dig in deeper if you're following the New American Media on X. Hey, that was a good idea, Kenneth, to keep the comments on the side. I really like that. Everybody else watching, thank you so much. Please leave more comments. Question of the day. Under what circumstances would you consider getting the brain implant from Neuralink? That's our question of the day. Please leave that in the comments. We're going to post this video in all of the places. This is where I would encourage you to subscribe to our podcast, The Agree to Disagree Show on Spotify. We're also on Truth Social. Search The New American Media and like us there. We need more people following us on Truth. Truth is going to be our backup for X or Facebook, maybe a blend of both. We're on Telegram at TNAM and TNAM Chat, TNAM for The New American Media, TNAM and TNAM Chat. On Facebook, we have the New American Media page and TNAM's The Agree to Disagree Show. Actually, do this. Just type in TNAM and see what comes up under groups. Because we probably have 20 different groups. Well, we have more, but probably TNAM related ones, 10 or 20. So follow us, TNAM's The Agree to Disagree Show on Facebook. On Instagram, the New American Media page. Where else are we? Yeah, Rumble, rumble.com. Go over there and subscribe. We need more subscribers. We're 44, 46 subscribers away from being able to go live on Rumble. I think that's how that works. So please help us with that. Subscribe to the Rumble channel for the New American Media. And if we're on Signal, I think we're TNAM official and TNAM chat on Signal. And the homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. Let me show you the New American Media. Let me just real quick. There we go. I'm going to share this page with you. Got to do a bit of an update here. I have such little interest in just kind of going to the website. Like, if we're silenced on the other networks, we will go. We will be on thenewamericanmedia.com. We will. What do I use it for? Well, the New American Media, this is kind of a hub. Let me drop this chat for a second. Oh, sorry, I got to click it here and then click it here on overlay, and we'll full screen this because there's not a lot of room. Okay, so this is the newamericanmedia.com. Intending to do a revamp soon. We have revamped a few things, and there's a couple of glitches, but oh yeah, we need to redo our logo up here. We've turned the American flag upside down to indicate that we're a nation in distress. But there's our footage from the Stop the Steal rally at the Capitol. This is the embedded video from January 6th, declassified, the unreleased J6 interviews. We went there and talked to a lot of people. Oh, TNAM Radio is where we used to broadcast on Broadwave streaming software. Kind of moved over to Restream now. That's what we're using. So that's a separate thing. We got our notable quotes. I think this rotates once an hour. But yeah, we got a political section, a finance section, 1984 watch, Big Brother Inc. Original programming, Moon Saloon. Hope to finish that soon. This is where you can find our tweets. Scroll down. We got an opinion section, a health section, a spiritual section. But yeah, over here, you can, if you go to thenewamericanmedia.com, you can subscribe to our tweets. It still says tweets, but I guess they're posts on X. That could probably be changed, but it's on the bottom right. That's how you find our X feed, and then on Facebook right here. Our page was deleted by Facebook, so we started a new one. We have 60 followers. We sure would like that to get up into the thousands like it used to be. Meta jerks. You're not going to silence us. You're not going to win. You're not going to stop. You know, I'll report the news by carrier pigeon if I must. But yeah, we have TNAM music, music reviews, and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, this will take you to our YouTube channel. So if you're ever trying to figure out how to find us, go to thenewamericanmedia.com and click around. You should be able to find our Rumble feed, our YouTube feed, our Twitter feed, X feed, Facebook, and the like. So always make sure that that's saved somewhere just in your memory, thenewamericanmedia.com. It's where we'll provide you all of the information in between the live shows. So yeah, I want to thank you for participating in today's program. Thank you so much. We're going to keep the Tuesday, Thursday, 3 p.m. slot. I'm going to keep roughly, how long do we go today? 2:25. I'm going to roughly keep the same length of show, I think. I don't even want to start telling you names of guests that we're going for until we get them. Although when I did talk with John Odermatt on Tuesday with Lions of Liberty, I said, oh, you're talking to Dr. Peter McCullough? Invite him on our show. I'd love to talk with him. But I did communicate with Larry Elder. He sat down with me on multiple occasions. We had barbecue together in Cleveland after the convention. Shared an Uber back. We were going the same general direction. So he said, send me an email, and I intend to do that. Trying to get John B. Wells back on. Got to reach out there. It's just this week was a bit of a transitional week. We're going to try different stuff. Now, that being said, want to keep the Tuesday, Thursday, just because I'm in a rhythm. I gotta, you know, I'm kind of, they're called circadian rhythms. And if you have a cat, let me tell you, when the time changes, fall ahead, spring ahead, fall behind. When the cats don't get the memo, they will be meowing for me to wake up at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning. It's just like, guys, please. But they're on a rhythm. They're ready to eat. But our circadian rhythms, they're real. And I've been a night owl for a lot of my life. I've been a bartender. I've been a musician. I've done a lot of my living at nighttime. But I haven't done as much of that lately. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do a night show. Blake and I were talking, maybe we could do a more laid back version of the stuff we've been doing on a night show. And I said, well, look, we need these to be bringing you joy. And if right now it isn't making a tremendous amount of sense to continue it the way we've been doing it, let's try some new stuff. Let's mix some things up. So maybe we'll get Blake back doing, I think he was suggesting a weekend show, but I'm like, I want to do stuff on the weekend. I don't want to have to work on the weekend. Unless I'm working on the weekend, in which case, I mean, you know, that all kind of depends on people like you. If you really support the program through Patreon, patreon.com/thenewamericanmedia, and the advertising revenue that is now building up on Rumble. It's hilarious. Rumble's a brand new account for us, but we get better traction with 50, 60 subscribers than we do with 6,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's how rigged it is. We used to get big views. Anyway, we're growing on Rumble faster than we're growing on YouTube. It's funny, but point being, I'm going to do different shows at different times with different guests. Maybe even Christopher Guest. Christopher Guest. That's a good one, Kat. Yeah, maybe I will get Christopher Guest just as a lark. But yeah, hopefully we'll get Ford Fisher back maybe Tuesday. He's just been on campus and he's got firsthand account of what's going on. So we'll get his report and kind of how that compares to some of the other protests and encampments and riots and movements that we've seen over the past 10 years since he's been working with News to Share. But yeah, that's kind of what we're aiming at. We're gonna put more sports shows out there for the Unhappy Hour. We're gonna get more guests, people you definitely recognize, and people that you might not know, but you should recognize. people with a lot to say and people with important perspectives. Check out Tuesday's show with John Odermatt from Lions of Liberty. More of that on the way. So anyway, it's a wonderful day out here. Thursday, May 9th, 2024 on the Agree to Disagree show. I appreciate each and every one of you for joining and spending a little bit of time with me, your host, Brian Engelman. So I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I salute you. I hope you have a great next couple of days and an amazing weekend. And I appreciate you. I love you. And we will talk again soon. Take care.